All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're about to get started, and like I mentioned in the chat, this is an experimental time. We'll see if more people are able to join with an earlier time slot, and if that ends up being the case, well, we'll try and adjust our time slot accordingly. I know it gets late for people in Southeast Asia, and if 11 o'clock is a little too late, maybe 9 o'clock will do just fine. So, thus the earlier time for our stream. With having said that, do welcome everyone joining me today for the Flow Developer Hours number 5. My name is Morgan. I'm from Decentology, and we do all kinds of flow related stuff during our streams for the Mercury Hackathon and all the attendees. And we try and share what we know and help you guys on your journey to becoming Web3 developers. Cheers to that. Alrighty. So, I see someone's joining us already. Sachin, how are ya? Thanks for joining. And today's stream is going to be a little bit about an update that recently came out from the team at Flow, specifically related to their documentation. And it's something that is close to my heart, and I guess a lot of developers too. Having good documentation is critical, and we're just going to explore some of the changes that they have made and maybe try and implement some of them with regards to our repository that we made last time. Having said that, let's open up the screencast and see the docs. Alrighty, so this is what we'll be working with today. Docs.flow on flow.org. And Subrat Kumar. Hi, Morgan. I joined the Slack just today. Have no idea how to proceed in the hackathon. Can you please guide me? Well, thanks for joining. It's really exciting to have you. And absolutely, I'll try and do my best. So this is a stream dedicated to all the Mercury Hackathon attendees. And the purpose of the hackathon is to guide you towards becoming Web3 developers using Flow and Filecoin. Those are the two tech stacks that we are promoting here. And the prize pool is allocated towards all kinds of projects that are related to NFTs and NFT marketplaces and so on. So if you're familiar with anything NFT related, well, the point here is to try and help you guys build your own NFT platforms, your NFT marketplaces, all kinds of tools related to NFTs. And Flow is really good at facilitating that. Hey, Raccomanto, sorry for mispronouncing that. I hope I got it right. What we're doing during these streams is we're essentially exploring the development on Flow, how to do it, where to start, and maybe today's the date where you get started using the docs and firing up your own tiny little apps. So let's get into it. This is the opening page for the docs, and we can see that it has a nice sales page up here and a get started section. So we have a Flow quick start app, Kitty Items. Kitty Items is an NFT marketplace. It's not unlike NBA Top Shot. And next we have Flow Core Contracts. Flow Core Contracts is things like Flow Token and the fee contract and basic interfaces related to Flow. These you will need, and actually during our previous stream, when we tried transferring Flow tokens on the testnet from one account to another, we had to import some of the core contracts. So this is nice to have link up here. And there's a wallet demonstration app. Okay, let's see what that is. Flow Wallet API. Gosh. Okay. I'm not sure what that's all about. If you want to see how wallets are integrated into Flow, you might as well go to artist.flowdeveloper.com and try and authenticate yourself using either Blockdo or Ledger. We have a question in the chat. How is Flow different from Ethereum? Well, in a couple of ways. Some of them are pretty critical. Some of them are rather minor. So the big one is Flow is a proof of stake. It's not proof of work, and that means it's inherently a lot faster and less wasteful in terms of energy required to produce new blocks. You're staking Flow when you're contributing to the consensus protocol, as opposed to mining with your graphics card or something like that, and contributing power to the hashing power of the network. So that's the major difference there. Flow is proof of stake. Ethereum is proof of work. Flow is a layer 1 network, just like Ethereum, and you can, pretty much do everything on Flow that you can do on Ethereum. It's got a general purpose blockchain programming language, and it's got developer improvements, quality of life improvements. There's tons of lessons learned from Ethereum and Solidity, and those are implemented on Flow and Cadence. So that's a big picture, but I would recommend you exploring the Flow docs or even the onflow.org website for more. HK is asking, can you show some quick demo of getting started for a complete newbie? Well, glad you asked that because what we have from our stream last time, stream number 4, is we have this Mercury Hopium repository, the name with a pun, and you can go ahead and pull that. So I'm going to just demonstrate. I guess this is a little bit of a deviation, but I like interacting with the chat. So we're going to demonstrate how to get started with a fresh repo. All right, so let's create a new folder for today. Move into that. Oops, 30. And what we're going to do is we're going to git clone the repository, right? So you just go to this link. I'm going to share it in the chat. Also, I want to make sure that I'm monitoring Slack too, if anything comes over. All right. So we went ahead and we cloned it. We cd into Mercury Hopium. We do an npm I. Okay. No big deal there. Pretty quick and painless to do the npm I here. As I say, it suddenly lags a little bit. All right, so we're done. Let's do npm run start. See if that does anything. All right, so what do we have here? Well, this is a Create React app with some Flow functionality in there. And we have this hello page, right? And that is app.jsx, right? So what you're seeing in the hello portion, it's right in this file, okay? And down at the bottom, you have sign in or up. You click on that. This is a testnet environment. So we click Blockdo as the primary testnet wallet that we guys use. Now I've logged in previously using my account, and I have an address already, so it's like cached within the system. So it's an easy confirmation for me. But if you didn't have an account, You would have to create one on Blockdo using email, and that's how you would do two-factor authentication to log in. And we just confirm, and boom, we logged in. So we can see that in the source right here, once we click on sign in, we authenticate with FCL, which is the Flow Client Library, provides us with wallet functionality and so forth. And we just set the user. So this is React, right? So we set the user to contain the information provided, all right? And on top of that, we enable some functionality. We can execute a script and we can send some flow, all right? So what we have in the console, I'm gonna execute the script and see the output, all right? So I'm executing a script, and what that script does is it communicates with the Flow testnet and spits out some data. This is the execute script section, and we import the core contracts that I mentioned. We touched on that earlier, and I get a reference to the vault, okay? Specifically by getting the account through the address. I get the Flow token balance capability, which is Flow's way of pointing you to specific parts of an account storage. Then I borrow a reference. This is a two-step process on Flow when you're getting to references inside of storage. You first have to provide the path, and then this borrow function essentially just reads the data and applies that through a specific interface. And an interface just means like, what can I do with this, right? And if this is a null, right? If there's nothing there, well, then this panic is gonna cancel this script and stop it and then send you back. If it succeeds, it returns a balance. Okay, and then in this couple console logs here, we see the account address and we see the balance, which is what we have right here. On top of that, we can send a transaction, which is previously we executed a script, and executing a script is a read operation, and you can read from the blockchain without really having to authenticate, since you're not mutating. But if you're mutating, then, well, in that case, you got to be careful, and you need to send a transaction, and for that we need to sign. So we sign with our wallet. Since we're logged in, we're authenticated with Blockdo. We can, well, first we can take a look at the source code of this transaction, roughly see what it does. It borrows some flow from our account, and it sends it to the receiver. This is one of our attendees for the hackathon from last stream, and we're just going to send 10 flow to that account. Okay, and we got a transaction ID from that. We can open up, let's see, testnet.flowscan, and let's explore. Okay, so we got this nice flow scan viewer for testnet. There's 5 events: withdrawn, deposited, withdrawn, deposited, and yeah, the final result is so we sent 10 flow. All right, and that's it. That's pretty much, we got the response back saying everything went fine, and we looked at the blockchain, we read from it, and we executed a transaction sending some flow, all within, let's see, how many lines? 117 lines of code. Some of it, well, yeah, 117 lines of code, with some of it being dedicated to HTML. Hey Melvin, how are you? Nice to have you. So yeah, this covers it. Feel free to open up, clone this repo, and get going. So HK is following up, so I can build an app using React and don't have to worry about what's going on the blockchain. Well, see, this is me interacting with the core contracts. Specifically, let's see here. We have fungible token and flow token, right? But the core essence of decentralized apps is you have a contract deployed and you have the app to help you interact with it. So if you want to have a contract deployed, something of your own that creates NFTs or does some other cool stuff, then you have to work on the cadence code and deploy to the blockchain and do proper testing before you deploy. However, there's another category of decentralized apps where they leverage existing contracts, right? So you can take a look at things like all the marketplace apps, all the NBA Top Shot statistic apps. Those apps don't really deploy contracts, but they're reading from existing contracts. In that case, you need to write a lot less cadence code, but it's still a concern where you have to get into some amount of detail. But HK, I would recommend you just pull this repo and explore it yourself and try and make some stuff happen. In today's stream, we're looking at the documentation, and as such, this is a good place to start. Right. Love the questions. Keep them coming, and we'll take a look at everything. All right. So nice example code. I would love to see something tinier, like a tiny token example or something, but that's what we have. Then we have learn cadence tutorials. Let's take a look at that. What is cadence? A smart contract programming language for flow. Okay. It's a nice description. And okay, so these tutorials are pretty good. Yeah, thanks for that, HK. So these tutorials are pretty good. I would recommend you try and do at least 3 and 4. These are all contained within Playgrounds. So I'll just give you an example of what that looks like. We open up the link here for everyone to follow. Here's the documentation link. And we already have some contracts in here. Okay, so we have an example token with a token supply, a provider interface, and a receiver interface. A vault. So vaults is how we keep those fungible token balances, or keep track of those, and we send them back and forth. Okay, and so I'm just gonna sort of explore this a little bit for you guys to know what these tutorials feel like. In here, you go through in like heavy detail how the implementation is done. All right, so I'm just gonna deploy this with 0.1. Now the Playground is gonna deploy 1 contract per account, and that's what you'll see underneath it. So in this case, is example token, right? All right, so what does that mean? We have an account, it's deployed, but we also want to interact with it. So when it comes to interacting with contracts, there's scripts and there's transactions. So any kind of flow contract, if it has things associated with it, so like tokens or NFTs, things of that nature, it'll hold that in your account storage. In order for it to hold something in your account storage, there has to be some way, some formal definition of how does it do that, starting with as simple as providing a storage path for where things will go. Okay, and that's required before you receive a token. So like on unlike Ethereum, where you have the ability to send any kind of token to any account, right? Um, that's not possible with Flow, because with Flow you need to first have the correct storage setup. In this case, for fungible tokens, the setup is you have a vault. Okay, so that's a process of setting up an account first before you can receive anything into it. And we can see this transaction does exactly that. We import the contract from 0.1, and then we go ahead and into this prepare statement, and we create an empty vault, and we save that vault to our storage. And this is for that individual account. Okay. And on top of that, we go ahead and create a link. This is the part where we went through this whole thing. So capabilities interact with links. I know it might be a little confusing, but when you create a link, for example, to public main receiver with the target main vault, all right, main vault has everything. So like storage / main vault has all the functionality that's described in the vault token. But you don't want to provide that to the public, because then anyone can create a transaction and take the money away from you, or whatever it is that you have in your vault. So this is how Flow creates interfaces for things in accounts to be more protected. In this case, we're creating this main receiver, and that main receiver will only have the functionality that's described in these interfaces. Okay, we can take a look at these interfaces. There's one called receiver. That means whoever has a reference that implements this interface will only ever have access to this function called deposit. Okay, well, that's good, because I'm okay with someone depositing funds into my account. I would be unhappy if they were able to withdraw, right? And the other interface that account implements is balance. So that's, again, I don't mind someone being able to see the amount of tokens I have in a specific vault. And then finally, this resource implements all of those, but I'm only providing public access to these two, all right, when I'm setting up an account. So 2 steps. In order for me to receive this example token, an account has to have a vault in their storage. Okay, this is what this command does. Saves a vault to a storage address, storage path. And then for other people to be able to interact with it without my approval, because you can't look at my storage without me signing that transaction, we create this link or a capability where anyone can go to /public /main receiver and grab what's available in the balance and the receiver interfaces. Okay, and this post check just makes sure that the transaction created what we thought it would. All right, let's go ahead and run this for number 1. So number 1 is already set up. That's because that's the account that's hosting this contract. If we try and run this for number 2, well, we get the messages that we thought we would get: empty vault created and references created. Okay, so if we go to number 2, we have access to storage. It has a main vault inside of the storage, and inside of that main vault, it has a 0 balance. All right. So we have this other transaction that will enable us to send some tokens between these accounts. And since 0.1 has all the tokens, well, in fact, let's see how many tokens does 0.1 have. So we have this script where, like I gave the example in the beginning, where I query the balance inside of mercury hopium, right? This does a very similar thing, but it does that for example token, okay? And we're going to read from the blockchain. We don't need any authorization to do that. I wonder why is it spinning so long? Couldn't borrow from account 1. Okay. It's interesting. Let's do 3 and 2, and let's set up 3. Okay, we did set up 3, and let's mint some tokens. How many are we? 30. We're minting 30. Let's mint 30 more. And let's set up the account again for number 1 just to make sure. Already has an object. If we remove this portion, okay. So now let's try and run this for 2 and 3. Okay, account 1 balance. These can be wonky, by the way. The playground, in an ideal state, it's not wonky, but oftentimes it is. All right, account 1 balance is 0, and account 2 balance is 60. All right, so let's send some example tokens from 02 to 03, and that's this transaction. So we're gonna be sending from 02, and that requires authorized access, to number 3, which does not require authorized access because we're just depositing, okay? And that doesn't require authorized access. And how much we're going to send? We're going to send 20, and that's hard coded. Payment could not borrow reference to the receiver. Who's the receiver? The recipient is 03. Let's fix that. Clear the console. Transfer succeeded. All right, so let's look at number 3. Number 3 has 10, but in the script we might see it a lot clearer. So we'll just execute this script. So we have 10 and 50. So we had 60 in one account, 0 in the other one. Now we have 50 and 10. So yeah, this fungible tokens tutorial walks you through how to create something like this. And I would recommend it. It's pretty good. All right, and we have a reference. So language reference is great, really useful. I use it every day. When you're looking up what you can do, for example, with a string. Okay, so we go to values and types, and we look up string. Let's look up string. Strings and characters, right? And we can see what exactly is the flow string, how to compose that, that it's made up of characters, what kind of properties and fields and functions that it has. So it's always good to take a look at this. Also, when you're exploring structures and resources, you have to go to composite types to see the logic behind that. So like structures are copied, resources are moved, that kind of thing. And some of the syntax and the capabilities there. So reference is really, really good and super useful. Cadence best practices and patterns. This is when you sort of become more advanced and you want to take a look at the do's and the don'ts. So yeah, take a look at that. But this is not for beginners. Flow Playground. This is what we explored when we took a look at the Cadence tutorials. All right, so that's the Learn Cadence section. Flow SDKs. Um, Flow is a very recent addition to the blockchain family, and there's still lots of functionality to be added from people like us, developers, and building SDKs is one of those, and there's some guides there and examples. Flow Go SDK is the reference SDK, and the Flow client library is something that we used in Mercury Hopium by importing it right here. All right, developer tools. This is something that we touched on during earlier sessions. The Flow CLI is really useful, and it allows us to do things like flow init to initialize a new project. If we can go ahead and remove flow JSON, flow init, okay? So that initializes a new project. We can then do flow emulator start. If it's not already running, but it is, I have it running on my computer. And we can do flow project deploy, and all kinds of things. Pretty much anything you can do on Flow, you can do with the Flow CLI, and it's a useful tool to have in your pocket. Flow emulator is a local instance of the Flow blockchain running locally. It's useful for unit tests. It's useful for rapid development. We're using the Flow testnet right here just because it's easier to set up. But when you think about local development, it takes a little longer to set up, but it provides, hey, Brainchild, you're not late, we're just early. All right, we started at 9 o'clock Singapore time, where developer hours used to be 11. We'll see if the viewership is expanded. If it's not, then we'll move back to 11 o'clock. If we increase our attendees, then we will probably do some more 9 p.m. Flow developer hours. So it all depends on you guys if we do this at 9 o'clock or at 11. Okay, so the Flow emulator, yeah, like I mentioned, a local instance of Flow, and you can run transactions quickly, and there's no lag, so forth, but it takes a little longer to set up. VS Code Flow, this is an extension that allows you to have syntax highlighting, have things like error highlighting. Let's explore this a little bit. So if I were to create contract.cdc right here, and pub contract contract, okay. Then we can see like there's highlighting of cadence. If we mess up somehow, like let a equals 10, and then we try to assign to 10 11 or 12, we get an error saying that cannot assign to a constant type A because it's a constant. And this is what you get if when you install the VS Code Flow editor. Otherwise, you're going to see, for a CDC file, you're going to see just white text, and that's not what you want. Okay, and then Flow Developer Wallet, FCL Developer Wallet. This is something that we're in the process of integrating with dApp Starter, which is the developer tool that really speeds up building on Flow, and we're just going to integrate this into dApp Starter, so you don't have to worry about setting it up locally. All right, so that's that part of it. Hey, Mehrab, you're not late. Like I said earlier, this is us experimenting with a 9 p.m. Singapore time slot, because 11 o'clock is kind of late for a bunch of folks, and this is all it is. It's an experiment for a time slot. And in terms of what we're doing, yesterday came an announcement from the team at Flow that they've updated their developer documentation, and we're just exploring some of the changes that they made, and you know what kind of use we can get from the documentation, and just a general sense of how to view it and how to browse it, and how to use it. We also did a bit of a review of our Mercury Hopium thing, for some of the viewers that are just getting started. And my goal is to answer your questions and code along the way. And yeah, so that's what we're doing. You're not late. You're just in time. Okay. So we did a review of the basics. I suggest you guys visit this documentation. It's a great site. And yeah. Building a dApp does qualify for the hackathon, right? Absolutely. So a decentralized app that leverages Flow and Filecoin qualifies you for the hackathon. Okay. Now there are tracks with specific requirements, and it will depend if your app implements those requirements for you to be able to apply for that track. But there is a big picture track for everyone to apply, and any kind of decentralized app built on Flow and Filecoin qualifies for that general one. Okay, so let's close these up for now, and let's leave this open. Let's see, we still have it running. That's cool. So what we're gonna do after this quick review, we're gonna try and update our functionality here. What's an example of how Flow and Filecoin can work together? Well, if you were to go to DAppStarter on Decentology, and you start building on Flow using React and a simple NFT, then the project will contain source code where you can upload an image to mint an NFT associated with that image. That image is stored on Filecoin. It's really expensive to store things on Flow, and thus you should only store specific data. And if you need to store huge chunks like big files, videos, pictures, that kind of thing, then you have to use Filecoin for that, or other IPFS services. And yeah, you link that back to your NFT, and you're golden. So this is an example. So dappstarter.decentology.com, you select this. Right. Well, this is storage like an S3 bucket, where you have specifically large files that you want to host outside of your Flow, and you don't want to put it on the server because the server is centralized. Well, then IPFS and Filecoin provide you with storage. All right. Mayrob says, I have literally zero knowledge of Filecoin. Can you briefly explain? Well, here's the thing. This is Flow developer hours, right? This is not Filecoin developer hours, but we can take a look at Filecoin together and explore what it is briefly. It is a system that is built on top of IPFS, and IPFS, for all of you, is an interplanetary file system. Okay, so it's a way to store files in a decentralized way. Think Amazon S3, where you're not storing it with Amazon's cloud, but you're storing it with a number of servers that are, or a number of nodes on Filecoin. Oh, HK, you're welcome. I'm just happy you're contributing to the conversation, so kudos. Yeah, so Filecoin is a monetization layer on IPFS to enable permanent storage. I know that there's complexities there, and I'm not the person to ask, but I would go to filecoin.io to find out more how to build for it. Yeah, again, this is Flow Developer Hours, so sorry for my ignorance of that topic. HK's asking a follow-up. Can I leverage an API to talk to Filecoin via Flow? No. So when you think about Flow, you have to think about a completely closed up system. Okay? Flow does not interact in any way with the outside world, with the internet or anything else. Flow just is a distributed ledger with a programming language that enables automated interactions with that ledger. The external world goes into Flow and updates and reads from it, and it sort of makes decisions based on that, like, oh, does this account have enough of a balance to buy this thing, transfer the money, that kind of stuff. But Flow in and of itself does not know anything of anything other than what Flow has in users' accounts. So when you think about leveraging APIs, you have to think of either within a client or in a client server, like a regular Web 2 client server, where you're orchestrating queries to Flow using access nodes. And we see an example of an access node right here in the Mercury Hopium project. Access testnet on Flow. So this points us to the entry point for the testnet on a Flow node system, node network. And so you have to orchestrate the Flow and the Filecoin separately using a Web 2 system, like a server or a service or a client, that kind of thing. Hope that answers your question. Okay, so we want to do a couple of things here. I want you guys to go ahead and create some testnet accounts. Testnet faucet. That's awesome, HK. Really, really happy to help you. All right, you guys, I need you to go and create accounts. You go to this address, you'll need a public key, okay? And to generate a public key, it's very easy. You install the Flow CLI and you do keys generate. And you'll get a private and a public key. And remember these are the only way for you to access your accounts. But once you generate that public-private key pair, you can go ahead and send your public key here. Now, don't share these, all right? These will allow others to do whatever they want with your accounts. Anyway, so I want you guys to go here, generate a key using the flow keys command in your emulator, and select the defaults, complete a CAPTCHA. What does this want? Ooh, motorcycle. This is a motorcycle. This is a bicycle. Motorcycle. Verify. Okay, I'm not a robot. I'm a human. Still got it. And what it will do is it will create an account on testnet. We can't just create an account from nothing. And this will do that. Okay, so while it's doing that, that was pretty quick. All right, so we have a new address generated on testnet. We're going to go into our app and let's see here. I want to create an array of accounts. Okay. Let's have this in here. Just freshly generated account. Now, I want you guys in the chat, anyone and everyone, please create some accounts and share them, either on Slack or on YouTube. Either one is fine. And we'll see what we'll do with them later. Okay, so we have a list of accounts. Let's add the account that we're hosting this on, which is my Blockdo account. Okay, so now we have 2 accounts, and if we're logged in, let's separate these components a little bit. So page, whatever, I'm just gonna call it a generic page. From React function page. All right, Mayrab is the first one. Man, you're quick. Love that. All right, so now we have 3 accounts in here. We're gonna do page props and I'll just return a div with a page and export default page. You know, just something to get started. We're gonna import page from this page right here, and we're gonna render it if we're authenticated. Okay. So we're gonna remove all of this lovely stuff and keep it for now. All right, so we're authenticated. That's great. Inside of our page, let's add this back in. And it's missing those functions, so we got to move all the functions back in. On send. All right, so we got on send, on execute, and on sign out. Let's grab this one first. Still only one address. You guys, are you sleeping? Come on. Let's get this going. All right, so now we have those 3 functions available. There's still something missing. FCL is missing. Let's add that to our imports. What else? What else? What else? The FCL config still stands. I'll grab these accounts, move them to the page, and okay. So I think we separated it fine. Float types. Oh, gotta save that. User is not defined. Let's see here. Okay. Let's pass on user as a prop. And we're gonna grab it from props. So this is a little bit of React for you guys too. Okay, can we execute a script? Yes, we can. Sweet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a script, or rather add a component that renders balances for each account that we ask for. So let's minimize some of this stuff. Execute a script. All right. So let's create some separation here. And what is this? So these are just commands, and this is accounts. Okay, and let's create an accounts component. Import React from React function accounts. Some props in there. Return a div. Or maybe just account. Yeah, let's call it account. Export default. And rename this son of a gun. Import account from account. Now the purpose of this component will be just to fetch the information from flow on what the account balance is. Okay, so what we're doing is rendering each account. So we have this accounts variable, which is an array, and we're going to map it. So we'll take account and index, returning an account, and we'll feed it the address. Okay, so we'll get an address, and we need a key for React purposes. That's fine. You know what? I'll add a new line here. Okay, so we enter an account, and is it complaining? It's not complaining. We have 3 accounts. It's a win already. We have done some React. Okay, so we need to execute this script right here for each and every one of those. So let's grab it, and we have FCL in here, so that's fine. Let's use effect and use state. All right, so what we're gonna do here, we have an account, and then we have a balance with some amount. Okay, what amount? We're gonna store the balance, set state, or rather set balance, use state, set to nil, and if the balance is null, we're going to just say loading, and if it's not null, we're just going to print the balance. Can't type. All right, so what do we start? We start with a bunch of loadings. Move it up here. Okay. Account props address, and let's add this into a span too. Little style for separation, margin, ray. I don't know, 8 pixels, and we'll print the address. Okay, so the address and then balance is loading. Loading means we're not doing anything, so we got to do something. Use effect. This is gonna take care of executing the function. What function that will be? Well, that will be the fetch thing right here. We're passing in the address, so we gotta send the address, and we don't need this. We get the balance, and at this point we just return it. Return the balance. That seems like it should be good. And fetch balance is gonna be the name of this function right here. Okay. Oh, so we're not returning. We're setting the balance to whatever we received. And in this use effect, we're just going to call fetch balance with props dot address and props dot address. Oh shoot, typo there. Props dot address is also going to be a dependency here, and let's see. Boom. We got balance queries for each one of these accounts that we just executed. All right. How sweet does that look, everyone? And you guys, you could have had your address in there, and you could have seen your balance live on stream. See what you were missing out. Thanks, Mayrab, for contributing. All right, so now we wanna send some love. We wanna send some flow to these accounts. Obviously, we're gonna take that flow from my account. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let's see here. So we want to send, all right, and we want to send on send. We want to have a thing right here. You are the rich one, in fact. You have 1,019. So I'm gonna distribute some more. All right. So we need a variable, right? Type. Let's see, what types do we have? We have text, whatever, and we have a value, so we need to implement another state. Use state, and we're gonna do, wait, not the place. Oh, no, this is the place. Sorry there. Right, so we're gonna implement set amount, or rather amount, set amount, use state, and we're gonna start with 0, and this input is gonna have this value, and then on change we're going to event set amount to event target value. Okay, let's see if that does anything. Okay, so that worked, and once we click send, we just have to read from amount. All right, so on send, reading from the amount. Before we do anything, I just want to see if, so with React you have these complicated closure type things, and I want to see if I update this to 22, is it updating? All right, it's updating, so we're good. We can go ahead and send the amount. Amount is going to be a uFix64, and we're going to send it right here. Now, just like in the script, we're going to send some arguments. Okay, and uFix64, and this is going to be amount. Okay, and let's see if I do amount.0. So Flow is very specific when it comes to receiving literal types, or maybe that'll be fine. I don't know. Let's send amount and see if that works out. Okay, so I'm sending from my account 22, and the receiver is still going to be Mayrab, so you're gonna be even more rich. Send flow. Expected 1 decimal, but found 1 in the value. Check out types. All right, so maybe that was it. Okay. Let's see if that fixes 22. Okay, that fixed that part. We're getting to approve this, and we got a transaction ID. It's a good sign. No worries, Mayrab. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and we'll definitely send out calendar invites for next week. Definitely. All right, let's see if that worked out. It did. Okay. So we're able to send specific amounts of flow to this one account right here, because that account is hard coded. Let's try, and before we leave off, let's add this address field right here, so that we can send to all kinds of addresses. And let's use it right here. Okay, now we just need to feed it with an argument, address, and this is going to be the address, or receiver address. Always pick good names, people. Okay, and we're just going to do another set receiver address, and we're going to use date. And we're gonna start with, you know, whatever the first one is in the accounts list. Let's add another input field right here. So this is the receiver address, and we're setting the receiver address right here. So first comes the amount, then the receiver address. And let's send some to this this account, and let's send 100. So I have 958. This has 1000. Let's send some flow. Approve. Got sent out. We got a transaction ID, and we have to wait until it's sealed, included into the blockchain. And it was. Let's refresh our balances. Boom, we got 1100 in here and 858. So that's it, folks. That's as easy as that. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and commit these changes. Flow developer hours number 5, and ship them. Thanks, HK. No worries there. I'll figure out how to ship it for you guys to have it available. But this sort of concludes our stream right here. I'm gonna share the link on YouTube real quick and on Slack. Thanks for tuning in. It was a pleasure having you today. We explored the flow documentation after the update to the site. We found some awesome stuff there, and recommend you go look at it yourselves. And then we went ahead and updated our Mercury Hopium repository a little bit, included an accounts widget and a flow sender widget where we can send variable amounts of flow to any kind of account. Hope you liked it. I liked the questions. Thanks for participating. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. And the next one is probably going to be next week, because tomorrow we have a presentation. So make sure you guys tune into that. But yeah, for now, from me, Morgan, and the whole team at Decentology, it's goodbye. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you later. Ciao.